I still remember the exact second my heart stopped beating. The sun was warm on my skin. Laughter floated through the air like music, and 47 members of my family were gathered under strings of fairy lights in my aunt's beautiful backyard. I was smiling, really smiling, because for once everything felt perfect. My name is Elena, and for 28 years, I believed I was the luckiest daughter in the world. The woman I called mom had been my safe place, my biggest cheerleader, the one who held me through every tear and celebrated every small victory. She was my everything dot until that afternoon, when she took the microphone, looked straight at me in front of every single relative, and spoke words that shattered my entire world. Before we enjoy the rest of the evening, she said, her voice calm and steady, there's something important I need to share with all of you. Elena isn't my real daughter. We adopted her when she was a tiny baby. We raised her as our own out of love, but the truth is, she isn't blood. She never was. The world went silent. The laughter died. 47 pairs of eyes turned toward me at once. I felt my body freeze while my mind screamed. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. I searched her face for any sign that this was a cruel joke, but there was none. Only a strange kind of relief in her eyes, as if she had finally released a heavy burden she had carried for years. She didn't reach for me. She didn't soften her voice. She simply stood there while the family I had known my whole life stared at me like I had suddenly become a stranger dot in that moment. Every beautiful memory I held close cracked open and bled. The nights she rocked me to sleep, whispering that I was her greatest gift. The way she cried happy tears at my graduation. The family portraits where I stood proudly between her and Dad, all of us looking like the perfect picture of love. Had it all been pretend? Had I spent 28 years loving a mother who had been counting down the days until she could publicly erase me? I wanted to disappear. I wanted the ground to open and swallow me whole. Instead, I stood there frozen, feeling completely exposed, broken in ways I didn't know a person could break. Whispers started spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Adopted? All this time? Why say it now? My cousins, my aunts, even my younger brother, they all looked at me differently. The warmth I had always felt in this family suddenly felt cold and distant. I slipped away as quietly as I could, walking past tables of half-eaten food and forgotten smiles, until I reached the quiet corner of the garden. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. Messages were already coming in, some kind, some confused, some painfully awkward, but none of them could touch the deep ache settling inside my chest. That night, when I finally got home, I curled up on my couch in the dark and cried until my eyes were swollen and my throat burned. I kept whispering the same question into the empty room. Why, Mom? Why would you do this to me? I had no idea that the pain I felt that day was only the beginning. Because a few weeks later, I would take a simple DNA test, and the results would expose a secret so much darker than anyone, including me, could have imagined. A secret that would turn my mother's lie into something far more devastating. The days after the family reunion felt like walking through thick fog. Everything around me continued, work bills, daily routines, but inside I was completely shattered. I avoided every family chat. I stopped answering calls from relatives. Every time my phone rang and I saw Mom on the screen, my stomach twisted into knots and I let it go to voicemail. I kept replaying that moment under the oak tree. The way her voice had stayed so steady while mine felt like it had been stolen. The way she had looked at me, not with guilt or love, but with something closer to release. It hurt so deeply that I sometimes couldn't breathe. I felt discarded, unwanted, like the little girl who once believed she was her mother's whole world, had been told she was never truly part of it. Nights were the hardest. I would lie awake staring at the ceiling, tears silently rolling down my temples. Every happy memory now carried a shadow. The birthday parties she planned with so much care, the way she taught me to cook her special recipes, the hugs that once felt like home. Were they all part of the performance? Had she been pretending to love me while secretly resenting the child who wasn't really hers? After 2 weeks of barely eating and barely sleeping, something inside me shifted. The pain was still there, raw and heavy, but a quiet question began to grow louder. Who am I if I'm not her daughter? I needed to know the truth, not the version she had told 47 people, but the real one. So I ordered a DNA test kit. My hands trembled as I spit into the small tube and sealed it. I whispered to myself, this is for me, not for her. For me. Mailing it felt like sending away the last piece of the life I thought I knew. The waiting was pure torture. Every day felt heavier. Relatives kept sending careful messages. We still love you. This doesn't change anything, but it did change everything. I felt alone in a way I had never felt before. The emotional struggle was exhausting. Some days I was drowning in sadness. Other days, anger flickered beneath the surface like a small flame refusing to die. Then the email arrived. Your DNA results are ready. I sat at my kitchen table with my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. When I opened the report, the first line hit me like a wave crashing over my head. 0.50% shared DNA with my mother. Not zero. Not distant. Biological mother. I stared at the screen until the words blurred with fresh tears. She had lied. She wasn't just saying I was adopted. She had invented the entire story. I was her biological daughter. The blood that ran through my veins was hers. The realization broke me all over again, but this time the pieces began rearranging into something sharper. I kept reading. More matches appeared, cousins on her side, that confirmed the connection. But there were also new matches. People I had never met. Names that didn't belong to Dad's family at all. The bigger picture slowly emerged. Cold and undeniable. My mother had hidden an affair. I was the living proof of it. She and Dad had created the adoption line many years ago to protect their image in our traditional close-knit family. They had built our entire life on that secret. And when something, maybe resentment, maybe a fight, maybe the fear that I was getting too close to asking questions, pushed her too far, she decided to use that old lie as a weapon. She publicly disowned me in front of 47 relatives so she could distance herself from the constant reminder of her own mistake. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever known. She hadn't just lied about my identity. She had used my existence to hurt me when it became convenient for her. I felt exposed, used, and completely destroyed inside. For days, I moved between crushing sadness and a slow-burning strength I didn't know I possessed. I stopped crying for the mother I thought I had. Instead, I started preparing for the truth I was about to set free. I didn't rush my response. True justice, I learned, is not loud or violent. It is calm, clear, and unstoppable once the truth is spoken. I spent weeks gathering my strength. I spoke with a counselor who helped me turn my broken pieces into quiet power. I reached out to the new DNA matches on my biological father's side. To my surprise, they welcomed me with open hearts. Hearing their stories filled some of the empty spaces inside me and reminded me that I was never truly alone. The moment of truth came at a smaller family, gathering a few months later, just the closest relatives who had been present that painful day. I stood in the same backyard, under the same old oak tree, but this time I was the one holding the microphone. My voice was steady as I looked at each face. I know many of you still remember what happened here last time. I began when Mom told you I wasn't her real daughter. when she said I was adopted and made me feel like I didn't belong. I paused, letting the memory settle over them. Then I lifted the printed DNA report so everyone could see it, but the DNA test told a different story. I am her biological daughter. 100%. The adoption story was never true. It was created to hide the fact that I was born from an affair my mother had many years ago. I was the secret she never wanted anyone to know about. And when she felt like it, she used that secret to publicly humiliate me in front of all of you. The silence that followed was heavy. Eyes turned toward my mother. Her face went pale. For the first time, I saw her look small and exposed, the same way she had once made me feel. Whispers turned into shocked questions. Some relatives stepped closer to me, offering quiet support. Others looked at her with disappointment and confusion. The perfect image she had protected for so long began to crack right there in the sunlight. She tried to speak, but her words came out broken and tearful. Dad stood beside her, silent, unable to defend the lie they had both carried. In that moment, the consequences of her choice finally caught up with her. She lost the respect and admiration she had spent decades building. The family that once looked up to her now saw her differently. I didn't need to raise my voice. The truth did all the work. In the weeks that followed, my mother sent messages filled with regret and pain. I read them, felt the ache of old love, but I also felt peace. I met her once privately and told her gently that I forgave the young woman she had been when she made those choices, but I would never forget the mother who chose to destroy me with them. Then I walked away, leaving the weight of her secret behind. Today, I stand taller than I ever did before. The family I thought I had lost is still here, changed, but real. The new relatives I found on my father's side have given me a sense of belonging I never expected. I wear the necklace my mother once gave me not as a reminder of pain, but as proof that I survived it and grew stronger. The deepest lesson I learned is this: secrets kept in darkness eventually come into the light. And when they do, they can either destroy you or they can set you free. I chose freedom. No matter how deeply someone betrays you, especially the person you trusted most, you are never defined by their lies. You are defined by how courageously you choose to face the truth and rebuild your life with honesty and love. If you're watching this and carrying the weight of betrayal, know that you're stronger than the pain they caused. The light may burn at first, but it will always guide you home. Thank you for walking this emotional journey with me. Your support means more than you know. Remember, your story is not over, and it can still be beautiful.